Today we're going to prepare Torta de Chilaquiles. After washing 6 to 8 chile guajillos, remove the stems and the seeds. I'm also going to add about 10 chiles de árbol to add a little bit of heat, 2 very large garlic cloves, and 2 Roma tomatoes. In a medium saucepan, bring to a boil about 5 to 6 cups of water. Add the peppers and the Roma tomatoes. Boil for about 3 to 5 minutes over medium-high heat or until the tomatoes begin to slightly break like this. At this point, turn off the burner and cover until they completely cool down. Okay, so these have been soaking in the hot water for about 20 minutes, maybe more. Now we're just gonna drain out the water. I'll leave the lid on. And we're gonna drain out all the water. You can also leave a little bit in here if you want, so it can help blend all the ingredients. I'm gonna leave maybe like a half a cup or so. Okay, and this is already cooled down, so it's not even hot anymore. And we're just gonna add in the peppers, add in all the chiles, and then a few more seasonings that we're gonna add to this so it can come out super delicious. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add the chiles de árbol is what's gonna give the sauce the spiciness. So if you don't want yours spicy, you can leave those out, but chilaquiles are meant to be spicy because that's the preferred food when you have a hangover. So they have to be spicy to knock you back into your senses. Put that in, and then we're gonna, since we added the water, I'm not gonna use that water, so I'm gonna use the water from there. Then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of Mexican oregano and 1/4 of a teaspoon of cumin. And 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon. The chicken bouillon is optional. You can leave it out and you can use salt to your taste, whichever one you prefer. And 2 giant garlic cloves. In they go. You know what? I may have to use a little bit more water. Just a little bit. So I blended this for about a minute, so I don't have to strain it. Depending on the blender that you're using, you may need to strain it, but and depending on the consistency that you want your sauce to be. So I'm not gonna strain it, but you can if you want to. The consistency is pretty smooth, as you can see, because I left it in there for a good minute blending. So it's completely up to you if you wanna strain it or not. So now we're gonna transfer it to a small saucepan, but first I'm going to heat up a small amount of cooking oil. Turn it down a little bit, and then we're going to add the sauce. You don't want it to heat up too much because then it's going to splatter when you add it in. Ooh. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to the blender just so we can get the residue that's in the blender and stuck to the side of the glass. And we can give it a good shake. Salsa's good, tastes good. And we're gonna add it in there. Okay. All right, and then we're just gonna bring to a simmer. And once it reaches a simmer, we're gonna simmer for about 5 minutes on very low heat. Look how delicious this came out. Now, if you don't want yours too thick, this has a nice thick consistency. If you don't want it too thick, you can add more water until it reaches the consistency that you prefer. But this is pretty much the consistency that I like. You can also use this sauce for enchiladas, but today we're gonna use it to make chilaquiles. Okay. When I make chilaquiles, I like to make them as we use them, because if you make a lot at the same time and you let them sit in the pan, they soak up the sauce and they don't taste as good. So, and I'm gonna show you how I do that once this is done. And of course, when making sauce or making any dishes, you always want to taste it because you don't want to serve your food bland. Give it a little taste. which I already knew tasted delicious because I tasted it when I was shaking that thing. Yo creo que ya está. Ahora sí la vamos a poner aquí. Okay, so we're gonna cut the bolillos in half because we're gonna enjoy the chilaquiles in a delicious torta. You can enjoy them without putting them in the torta, but today we're gonna make them in a torta. We're gonna toast the bread, so I'm gonna cut it open. And I'm gonna remove some of the bread on the inside so we can fill it up with the chilaquiles once they're done. Just so it's not so bulky. All right, just like that, kind of like a pita pocket. I'm gonna place it in there. I usually discard of that, but you can also make bread pudding with it. If you're only making a few, then you really can't make much with it. Okay. It's 3 of us today, so we're making 3 tortas. You want 1 or 2? Just 1. He just wants 1 today. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm gonna put these in the oven so they can be nice and toasty. Now we're gonna prepare the chilaquiles. Now you can fry your own tortillas at home, but I prefer to use totopos because they're already fried for you and it doesn't make a big mess and it's a lot quicker. So we're gonna use totopos. We're gonna start by adding the servings that you're gonna serve. This is gonna be for 3 tortas, so we're gonna make enough for the 3 tortas. That should be enough. El pilón. Y ahora sí le vamos a echar, we're gonna pour the salsa over it. The sauce that we made, the chilaquile sauce. Ooh, listen to that. And making them this way, it's gonna leave your tortillas nice and crunchy and they're not gonna be soggy. Should be enough. And then we're just gonna give it a light stir so they're all nicely covered with the sauce. And I'm gonna have to add a little bit more, maybe a spoonful more. There we go. We want them to be nice and saucy. Go. All right, I'm gonna turn this off and then we're just gonna let them soak in here for not too long, otherwise it gets soggy. And you know, in the sauce, usually you add a little bit of epazote to the sauce to give it more flavor, but I don't have any right now, but that's just an optional if you want to add epazote to the sauce. All right, so now we're gonna get the bread and we're gonna prepare the torta. I'm gonna set these aside over here. And I am gonna need the burner still, because we're gonna prepare a fried egg to go in the torta. Okay, so we have our bread ready, which is nice and toasty and warm. So we're gonna prepare the 2 fried eggs, or 1. Probably just 1 that we're only going to be able to fit in there. So we're going to fry the egg. The oil has been heating up for a little bit. We're going to wait for it to heat up a little bit more before we add in the egg. But we have our sour cream that we're going to add to the torta, queso fresco, red onion, some chilitos toreados that we're going to serve on the side, and the torta. Oh, and we're also gonna add a little bit of refried beans inside of the torta, which we can do that right now while we're waiting for the oil to heat up. These I made this morning, so they're nice and fresh. And I made them especially for these delicious tortas. I'm just gonna add a small layer of beans to the torta. And this is why we take out the bread from the inside, so we can have more room to fill it with beans, chilaquiles, more toppings. So we're gonna prepare 2 once we're done, because my daughter does not want it in the torta. She just wants it in a plate. So, wait, did this turn off? Oh no, it didn't. It was just so quiet, I couldn't hear anything. See, I'm a Mexican mom, I just touch it to see if it's hot. Touch it, dip your hands in it, put it in your face and see if it's hot enough. Just kidding, don't do that. Okay, let's add in the egg. Let's season with a little bit of salt and black pepper. Cover it. All right, you know what? We're gonna add the chilaquiles in here. The chilaquiles. This is a lot of carbs, so if you're on a low carb diet, I do not recommend this. Ooh, there's the chilaquiles. In here. Ooh, it's nice and saucy chilaquiles. And they're not too spicy, even though I did add a lot of chiles de árbol, they did not come out spicy. But then again, we're probably immune to it, so if you're not used to spicy, it probably will be spicy for you. Sorry. I already turned it off, so we're gonna cut it in half. We're gonna put 1 egg. If we can fit both of the eggs in the torta, we're gonna add both, but there's 1 huevito, and let's add both of them. Échale el huevo ahí. Ahí está. Y ahora sí, ya nomás le vamos a echar, we're gonna add su cebollita, queso fresco, and sour cream. Let's go. More queso fresco. Ahí está, una torta. One's ready. I don't want egg on mine, so I'm just gonna do it with the sour cream. Onion and quesito fresco. Oops, making a mess. Y of course las rajitas. Vamos a echarle unas rajitas aquí para que sepan más sabrosos. El chile entero no, nomás unas rajitas. Estas se acaban. These go pretty fast when I make them because they're so good. ¿Y quieres chilito en el tuyo, mijo?
Yes.
Vamos a echarle un chilito aquí al lado. Así. Y aquí está la torta. Miren nomás. Delicious. ¡Mua!
Let's try it. Look at that. My mouth's big enough for this. Here we go.
Sure it is.
Here we go. Mmm. That is good. Mmm.